Welcome everybody to this call. Hey, if you're just getting here, this is going to be really cool. And in the Zoom, we already have 63 people here. Howdy, everybody. And we will not be starting for 3 to 4 minutes. So the fact that there are 63 people here before we get started means that we're going to have a lot of people on this call, and I'm really excited that you're all here. This is going to be a really cool experience that I think will be something to remember. So thanks for being here. I'm just going to get the technical stuff set up. We'll get started here in just a moment. All right, if we could do this, it'd be cool. As we're waiting here to get started in just a couple of minutes, put something in the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Lauren Gagliano, DDS. Hi, Dentist Lauren. It's great to have you here. She says hello from the last frontier. And the last frontier is Alaska. Nice to see you, Lauren. And Natalie Zierenberg is in California. Willie Brumfield is in Mississippi. Peggy, what's up, Peggy? Peggy's here from Ocala, Florida. We got Shannon Davis, who is a very, very important registered dietitian and kidney specialist. Thank you for being on this call, Shannon. Glad that you're here. And I'm stalling because I lost my visual. Okay, there we go. Todd Rigby, what's up, Todd, in Eastvale, California. Dr. Kenny Harless in Florida. Hey, Kenny. Tammy Pelton. Hey, Tammy. We're going to hear from you in just a moment. Sheboygan, Michigan. Misty Zimmerman in Mansfield. We got Renee in Camden, South Carolina. Luann in Illinois. Denise in Arkansas. Teresa in Indiana. Gary in Tucson, Arizona. Linda's in Virginia. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being on the call. There's 93 people, 94, 95 people now on our live Zoom call. And then this is being rebroadcast to people on Facebook. Some of you I know actually like to hold up your phones and do your own live stream onto TikTok or other apps when we do this call. And so I'm glad that you're doing that. That's awesome. That just means more people will see what we're doing. So I'm going to get started in about 1 minute, maybe 30 seconds. We'll get started. We'll push the record button. Dr. Midge Brown, an endocrinologist, is here from Toronto, Canada. Hey, Dr. Brown. And maybe the other Dr. Brown, Steve Brown, also from Canada, is here. Hello, Lori Poleski from New York. And Sarah Muir. Hey, Sarah, in Ventura, California. We're going to turn on some Spanish translation. And so that this will go out in Spanish language tonight. Thanks to Nella Garcia for being nice enough to translate this meeting. And we just click the record button. All right, we're ready to go. Well, welcome everybody to this call. This is a special call. I'm excited about this, and I'm glad you're here. I want to tell you that if there is somebody that you're aware of that's struggling with their metabolic health, if they're serious about making a health improvement and they're struggling, if you're watching this on the Facebook Live, I would encourage you to tag them in the video. If you're watching it on any restream or there's any way you can get them into this video, they will thank you later. What we're doing is really, really, really cool. In fact, it's going to change the world. Now, I know that may sound like a pretty audacious statement, and you may feel like I'm exaggerating it a little bit, but when we finish this call, I think you'll agree that this is truly going to change the world. This is a protocol that we're going to be talking about that is natural. It is something that is more effective than anything else I can find on the planet for helping people improve their metabolic health. And it is so simple and so easy. And I want to maybe start off by just introducing myself. I'm a stranger to most of you. My name's Trent. I live in Utah. And if you look back here, this is a picture of my dad. And my dad was my best friend, my hero. And a few years back, my dad died from stage 4 colon cancer. And I'm telling you, this is the best guy in the world. Everybody that knew Hal Tuller loved Hal Tuller. And he was the greatest guy who may have had the world's worst diet. My dad, much like myself, was a bit of a stress eater. And when things weren't going well for him, he would turn to food. And so despite being a wonderful guy, this is a pretty good picture of my dad. I'll show another picture here when he was progressing a little bit. My dad had insulin resistance. He was a pre-diabetic with high blood pressure, high cholesterol. My dad had a skin condition called psoriasis, which almost always is related to having this insulin resistance. And because of his skin condition, he had a lot of challenges. And eventually, my dad got a cancer diagnosis and got sick and died. And when my dad got sick, I just freaked out. I mean, I went down the rabbit hole trying to learn whatever I could to hopefully save my dying father, right? And who am I to do that? I mean, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist. So I started to read everything I could read, and it became really clear to me that there was a lot of cutting edge science that wasn't getting through to the people. People who needed that science and needed to understand the science, they weren't getting it. My dad had no clue what to do other than to just take his medication and keep on keeping on, right? And if my dad would have discovered what we're about to explain and show tonight, he would be alive today. And so if you have a dad or a mom or a loved one who is struggling, share this with them. It will change their life and probably save their life. It would have saved my dad's life. Now, I kind
This
of
life.
to teach people about this. And so for the last couple of years, I have been making content on social media and putting out free videos teaching people about blood sugar control, weight control, cholesterol, triglycerides, prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, neuropathy. I've been trying to tell anyone who will listen that you can naturally address and often reverse some of these problems, including serious health problems like type 2 diabetes, like hypertension, like hyperinsulinemia. Okay. And so I've been making content and I've gotten hundreds of thousands of followers, not because of anything special about me. I mean, I'm the most average guy there ever was. But the reason this message is resonating is because nobody else is talking about it. And I have some wonderful medical professionals on tonight's call, doctors, nurses, diabetes educators, dietitians who get it and who are part of our mission to change the world and make life better. There's a lot of people out there who don't know why they're sick. And we want to show you why we're all getting sick and some really easy things that anybody can do to get unsick. Okay. So that is the scope of tonight's call. I want to explain this protocol. Typically, I have an expert that joins me as a guest on tonight's call. And today we're going to do something different. This is the first call that we've done in 2025, and I want to do something very, very special. The genesis of this call is I remember once the very first time I remember the first time I tried to teach somebody about this protocol. This was a person that had type 2 diabetes. They had severe problems with weight control. They had struggled with these things most of their life, and they had a protruding belly. And we talk about that because the protruding belly is often the belly that is the visceral fat, the hard visceral fat that leads to lots of health problems. This was a person that had neuropathy so bad that they had problems sleeping at night. And I remember explaining to this man exactly how this protocol works. And that is my 3-year-old or 4-year-old. Hey, Andy. So I remember explaining to this gentleman exactly how the protocol works. I told him exactly what he needed to do to get blood sugar down and to start feeling less pain. And I remember he looked at me and he nodded and said, "Well, I need to think about it." And I thought to myself, he doesn't believe me. He doesn't believe me. He thinks it's fake, or he thinks that I don't know what I'm talking about. And he's just like, "Yeah, sure, you can help me fix this." And he didn't do it. He never did it. In fact, I don't remember if he ever even called me back. But this was somebody I cared about who just didn't believe me. And if I were to come on my social media account, or if I were to run an ad in the newspaper and say some of the things that you're going to hear tonight, my ad would get shut down. My TikTok account would get banned. You simply cannot say the things that are happening with this protocol. And so I thought, you know what? Maybe it's better that I don't say it. Maybe it's better that you say it. And so I have invited a group of people to tonight's call who are real people. Now, I have not paid or even bribed any of these people to come on this call tonight. In fact, I did not encounter one iota of resistance when asking if these people would be willing to come on tonight's call and share their stories. Um, Zero resistance. They were anxious and happy to do it. And it's because they know what I know and what you're about to know. The truth is, most of these problems can be solved very, very quickly, relatively quickly, and it can be done naturally. And so I want to expose you to what is really happening on this protocol. Now, I know some of you are already lost on all of this because you maybe have not started the protocol yet. You have no idea what we're talking about. And so as we go, I will make sure that I explain the protocol and exactly how to do it. And if you're skeptical, if you have questions, or if you're not, if anything's unclear, we'll have some time for question and answers at the end. And I want to make sure everybody has a chance to ask questions, etc. But um, but this should be really special. And I hope that you'll hear some of these stories and never forget them. They're all real. Some of these are people that are strangers that I've never met before. Some of them are people that followed my TikTok page and saw one of my videos and their life has changed forever. Or maybe they saw some of you. I know that we have, like I said, many people on this call, nurses, diabetes educators, and people that have been living the protocol and telling it to other people. Or explaining it to other people. Maybe you run into some of the resistance I ran into where I told this person exactly what to do and they didn't believe me. I hope that tonight's call will be believable to everybody. And it may be unbelievable at points, but it's all true. And I will show you the proof. I'm going to show you all the science and exactly why it works so well. But I want to start with some of these people, some of these stories. So to begin, I have asked Whitney to come on this call. And Whitney is somebody that I only recently met, and she is a changed woman. I mean, I've seen some pictures of her before, and I see them now, and I may have time to share some. Whitney, if you wouldn't mind maybe kicking this call off, where were you at with your health prior to starting this protocol, and what has happened since?
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us tonight. My name's Whitney. I'm a mom of 5 at home. I'm busy, and before this protocol, you guys, I was at the lowest place I've ever been in my life. I had gained I went from 125 to 191. I had chronic inflammation. I would wake up and my whole face would be swollen, hands, feet, legs, everything. I had high cholesterol. I had sleep apnea. I was having severe stomach problems to the point I ended up having to get my gallbladder removed. Every time I went to the doctor, they're like, "Do you have high blood pressure?" And I'm like, "Well, you've asked me the last 4 times, so I'm pretty sure I do." But I was just in a dark place mentally. So all of the health issues that I was dealing with, I would find myself at night, like in my head. And, I was working out 5 days a week. I was eating low carb, but I would just at night, I would be like, what is wrong with me? Like, I'm doing all the things that I've been doing. Why am I not getting any better? Why am I not losing weight? Why am I not feeling any better? I mean, I had zero energy, brain fog. It was just a horrible, horrible place to be.
And I'm stalling here a little bit because I'm trying to pull up this picture while you're talking. I'm going to pull it up just for a moment here.
Well, I'll also share, I mean, going to work was hard, like getting up out of bed to go to work, and then having little ones that want to play with you, want you to like go for walks, go for bike rides, and not feeling that you can even do that. Like getting home from work and it's just like, okay, I need to hit the bed. You know what I mean? Like it's a horrible feeling.
When I know that you're kind of describing where you were, if
Mhm.
you don't mind, how long have you been on this protocol and what has happened to you? I mean, this is incredible. And we're looking at you here, and I know a little bit about your story, but what has happened? What has changed?
So I started the protocol October of 2023. So I am just a little over a year in. You guys, I feel absolutely amazing. This has been life-changing for me to the point that I've shared it with my whole family and it's been life-changing for them. I've lost 62 pounds. I no longer use my CPAP machine, no longer have high cholesterol. The inflammation is gone. I'm able to go to work and I can focus, and, the anxiety, depression, I'm so more productive. I mean, cleaning the house, going for bike rides. I'm doing all the things. And to be completely honest with you, I don't work out. Like, I was prior to the system. I got sick. And then whenever I started the system, I never went back to the gym. Now, I'm not saying not work out because that's phenomenal for you. I'm just a crazy busy mom who works full time. So yeah, that's pretty much my journey. I'm at a very, very good place, and I owe it 100% to this system.
One last question. So that was amazing. Thank you so much. I mean,
Thank you.
Whitney, I didn't give you any coaching on what I wanted tonight, so that was just perfect. Were you ever skeptical about this? Like when you got started, was there any skepticism, or did you just dive in because you were desperate? Tell me a little bit about that.
So my mom followed Yvette, who's a diabetes educator on here, and she watched her for probably a year. She researched everything, and she knew how bad I felt. So she would come at me and she's like, "Hey, like, you need this, you need to try this." And I was like, "That is not going to work." Like, I flat out told her, I was like, "That's not going to work." So I made her try it first so I could watch her, because I'm a skeptic. I mean, who isn't? When you're trying to do everything right and nothing's working, why is this thing going to work for you? And that was my thought at the time. I was like, that's not going to work. So I watched my mom. She got rid of her menopause symptoms. She lost 40 pounds. She told me she feels like she's in her 20s. And I was just like, you know what? Okay, let me give it a try. But I had every intention of it was going to be a short trial run. And here I am over a year later feeling amazing. So
Whitney, thank you so much. You were the perfect person to kick this off, and just really congratulations. I see Yvette, a nurse and a diabetes educator, cheering you on in the comments, and lots of people are giving you love. There's 300 people on this live stream on Zoom, plus all the restreams that are going out. People are so happy for you. So great job, Whitney. Thank you sincerely for being willing to talk in front of 300 plus people. Okay. I want to bring on one other person here, and we're going to bring on several people, and these will be short and sweet. I've promised these people that I'm not expecting them to take too much time, but these stories are really, really powerful. And this is somebody whose story is different than most people's. She went through something very, very difficult with long COVID, I believe is what it's called. Is that right, Tammy?
Yes.
Okay.
COVID long.
COVID long.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So Tammy is in Sheboygan, Michigan. Is that right?
I am.
Okay. And Tammy, tell everybody just real fast, where were you at? What was this long COVID that you had? And what has happened since you started the protocol?
Okay, Trent. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I am thrilled to tell my story. My COVID started in August of 2021. Prior to COVID, celebrated my 50th birthday, felt amazing in the gym 5 to 6 days a week, a bill of health. Everything was going perfect. 2 days after my birthday, myself and my family members all got sick with COVID. I was sick in bed for 21 days and lost my mom to COVID pneumonia during that time. So I was dealing with a immune compromised body and the loss of my mom. Sorry. So my body literally shut down on me. I went into adrenal fatigue. My autonomic nervous system quit working. So I went from a very healthy woman to having a hard time getting out of bed. I had extreme brain fog, anxiety. My body hurt from head to toe, and it wasn't just joints, it was muscle. It was horrible. I had really odd things that happened to my body. I had broken ankle syndrome. I would have rashes that broke out all over. First year and a half, I went the medical route and they had no help for me. I tried everything, including seeing an endocrinologist, and they had no help. So I ended up going holistic and tried acupuncture, red light therapy, infrared sauna, massage. I went to a clinical nutritionist. Even though I was eating healthy, I kept gaining weight. I ended up gaining 64 pounds in 3 years. I felt horrible in my own skin. The body pain and the joint pain kept getting worse. I actually had what they called broken ankle syndrome. So when I went to get out of bed, I could hardly walk in the morning. My ankles hurt so bad. Fast forward, 3 months ago, I ran into a friend of mine on Facebook. And I knew she had to be doing something because she looked amazing. So I clicked on her link and I found this protocol, and I knew it had to do with fasting, which I had tried so many times to fast. And I failed every time, even though I knew that's what my body needed to heal. This protocol is so easy, and it's helped me not only get my life back, but it's helped me fast. It's helped me learn to be able to control my cravings. I had horrible food cravings and sugar cravings towards the end, the last 6 months of my deal. So I'm very thankful at this point in my life. It's truly saved my life, given my life back. And more so for all the people that are out there that don't know what's wrong with them, that maybe haven't had a diagnosis, but have all these crazy symptoms. This protocol will work for you too. I never had any bad blood work. I don't have diabetes. I don't have high blood pressure. I have none of that. But I was severely body compromised, and the system has pulled me out of a very, very dark place.
Tammy, thank you so much. You're getting lots and lots of love in the chat here. You know, there are hundreds of people on the call, and I know everyone's feeling it right now, especially people that have struggled with long COVID. I saw Dr. Marla Jirak is on the call, and Dr. Marla had long COVID and has a very, very similar story. And so this story that you just told could change or save somebody's life who's dealing with the same thing. Thank you, Tammy. And
You're welcome.
Congratulations on all your success with your health. And I'm so glad that you found this and that we found you. And thank you again.
Me too. Yeah, you're welcome, Trent.
Awesome, Tammy. Okay, thank you so much. I did not realize when I planned this call that I was not going to want to turn off anybody's camera. I feel like we just had two amazing stories from Whitney and then Tammy, and I said, okay, goodbye now. We got to move on. And I hate to do that because your stories are just so powerful. And this protocol, you guys, this protocol is truly something special. We've got to go quickly in the interest of time here, but I want to take a moment and just talk a little bit about who this protocol is most relevant for, because you've heard from Whitney, who is a mom, a busy mom who was struggling with a lot of different health problems, was on a CPAP machine, has lost 60 pounds. You hear from Tammy, who gained 64 pounds during long COVID and lost her health and got it back, right? So one of the reasons why this works for so many people with so many different problems is because this it addresses something called insulin resistance. Now, you may not be familiar with that term, and that is okay, because I'm going to give you the basics that you need to know about it. There is a good chance that 50% of your household is insulin resistant, but does not know it yet. Now, when somebody's in very advanced stages of insulin resistance, we can start to see some of the symptoms, okay? When it's advanced enough. When it's advanced, we can see things like skin tags on the neck. If you have skin tags on your neck, on your face, or especially in your armpits, I know that sounds funny, but check for me. Do you have any skin tags in your armpits? That would be a sign of advanced serious insulin resistance. Or if you have this darker pigmentation around parts of your body, on your neck, maybe elbows, maybe between legs, that would be another sign. One of the first signs that you start to see is this protruding belly. Now, that does not necessarily mean that you need to have a big belly, even a small belly. If it's a protruding belly, that is a sign that you have insulin resistance and may need to take note of this, okay? Now, everybody has some fat. There is fat beneath our skin called subcutaneous fat. That is normal fat. Even bodybuilders have some of that subcutaneous fat. But the protruding belly is caused by this visceral fat right here. And that's the fat that's beneath the skin and that is surrounding the organs like the liver and the heart, okay? And that visceral fat is not soft and jiggly like your love handle. It is firm and it causes this protruding belly. And this is actually the #1 risk factor for insulin resistance, prediabetes, and type 2 diabetes, along with a bunch of other health problems. Now, those are the advanced things that you see. But long before that, you often notice things like cravings for sugary, salty foods, an inability to lose weight, constant hunger, migraine headaches can be a sign, high cholesterol, being bloated after meals or tired after eating, okay? Skin problems are a big indicator. Now, psoriasis, we talked about the skin tags already. Adult acne, those are all going to be signs and symptoms of insulin resistance. Those are strongly correlated, as are mental health problems. And for women, PCOS is everywhere. I mean, most women, pretty much all women these days, I won't say all, the number one contributor to infertility in women is PCOS. And the #1 contributor to PCOS is insulin resistance. Just like insulin resistance is the #1 contributor to erectile dysfunction, okay? It is everywhere. In fact, the CDC said conservatively that 1 out of 3 American adults are pre-diabetic. 1 out of 3 are pre-diabetic. And we now know that this number is closer to 50%. And the problem is that 90% of the people do not know that they have it. And so they've got some of these symptoms, right? Let's look at these symptoms. We see some of these symptoms. Maybe you have 1 of these symptoms. Maybe you have 2 of these symptoms. Maybe you have 10 of these symptoms, right? All of these symptoms you're living with, and you're dealing with these symptoms above the surface. You can see them or feel them. But the root cause is the insulin resistance. And what this protocol does is it addresses the insulin resistance, and then voila, a bunch of the symptoms disappear, okay? And so we do this really, really simply. We attack the insulin resistance with 2 steps, okay? We do a little bit of fasting. And when you do the fasting, and there's some tools that you can use that will make fasting super easy. In fact, they'll make you forget about food. Tools that are natural and have no drugs in them, it makes the fasting easy. And the fasting can help us become more insulin sensitive. And then there are fibers, different plant fibers specifically, that can make all the difference in the world in controlling insulin, and so that you can often reverse these problems. Now, I want to bring in a couple other stories. There are some people I'm looking for, and I'm going to have to scan here a little bit and look at the cameras that are on. I'm trying to find Tom and Teresa Lupo. And let me just scan a little bit here and see if I can find you guys. If you guys are here and could put something in the chat, that would be very helpful to me. And if not, we can move on to the next person, and maybe I missed you guys. Okay, there's Marlene. Hey, Marlene, thanks for saying hi. Where is Tom and Teresa? If you wouldn't mind just putting your name in the chat, that would be so helpful to me. If your camera's on, especially, if this is for Tom and Teresa. And if we can't find Tom and Teresa in the chat, we're going to go to our next little guest here, and then we'll bring them on. Maggie Yeomans. Okay, is that the name I'm looking for? No. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the next guest here. And this is somebody that needs no introduction anywhere in the world. This is the one and only Jackie Lackey. Jackie.
Hello.
Hey, how are you? So Jackie, Jackie and I have become friends, and Jackie has an amazing story. Jackie, we don't have a lot of time, so if
Yes,
you would
sir.
mind telling the world what has happened to you and your husband, where were you guys at with your health prior to starting the protocol, and what has happened since?
So Glenn had type 2 diabetes. He was on 3 medications. We did everything the doctor said to do, and he went from bad to worse in a 3-month period of time. We prayed about something, a change in our life. We found the FGS. We started it, and in 6 weeks, Clint was off of 3 medications. The doctor said, "What are you taking?" He said, "The Feel Great System, the FGS is what I call it." And he said, "It's amazing." He looked it up and he said, "Tell everybody in the world, you're in remission. This system works." We started that. That was 2.5 years ago. 2.5, a year at our year mark. Clint had lost 90 something pounds. I lost 104 pounds. We went on to lose, I lost 124 pounds in 14 months. So what has it done? It took us from morbidly obese to completely healthy. It got my husband off of 3 medications, and it completely changed our metabolic health.
Okay, Jackie. I
I
remember.
can't see y'all.
Okay, I'll bring myself back on
Okay.
here. Jackie, I remember when you first started the protocol, I got a
Mhm.
text from you that said, "Hey, these are Clint's labs."
Yep.
And I think his labs were from maybe April or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you sent me the labs again in July, or maybe it was July and September. I don't
Yeah.
remember. About 90 days. Do you happen to remember what those numbers were?
Oh yeah. So Clint had the first that I reported to y'all was 7.7, but they retested Clint and it came back 8.8. But we have on paper in 6 weeks, it went from 7.7 to 5.0.
In 6 weeks,
In 6
went from
weeks.
7.7 to 5.0.
Yes.
Okay, so guys, for anybody that's not familiar, that is type 2 diabetes, very serious stage of type 2 diabetes, to not even a pre-diabetic anymore in 6 weeks. And I have the blood work before and after that I can show you that Jackie sent me as a text. I mean, Jackie, I think, saw a TikTok video of mine and said, "We got to do something." This is Jackie prior to starting the protocol. And this is her 1 year or so later, down 100 pounds. And she's, I mean, I think you've continued to not only maintain it, but I mean, I saw you,
Yeah.
in Thailand.
Yep.
And so Jackie, hey, it is so awesome. So awesome to hear your story. For anybody that's got a spouse or a loved one with type 2 diabetes, I hope that gives them hope. Jackie, thanks for being on the call.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. We have a couple more stories, and then I want to go through the protocol briefly, and then we'll do some Q&A if we have time. The next story is somebody that's also dear to me, a stranger who I had never met before, who found this protocol. Nori, we're short on time, so my job is to move people along and keep this on schedule. So don't let me rush you too much.
Okay.
Mind telling everybody your story. Where were you at prior to starting the protocol with your health, and what happened to you?
Well, thanks for asking me to tell my story. I love telling my story because it really did happen. And I still am in a little bit of surprise and shock about it. December of 23, I was diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic. I didn't know I was even sick, except that I just did not feel good I didn't know I had a disease or an illness. I just thought, man, I'm so tired all the time. I need a nap every day. I had adult acne. My hair looked like straw. My body, I looked like a bowling ball with legs. I'm 5'1". I weighed almost 190 pounds. My doctor told me, I've got good news and bad news. And I said, okay. And he goes, Your A1C is 13.3. That's the bad news. You are a type 2 diabetic. That's the bad news. And I said, what's the good news? He goes, well, the good news is you're going to be on metformin and Lipitor for the rest of your life. And I just looked at him and I said, what? He said, yeah, you'll have to control your diabetes or you're going to go blind. You know, you could lose fingers and toes. You could have feet amputated. That's what he told me. And I said, I don't want to do that. And he goes, why don't you want to do the metformin? You need it. And I said, I don't think I'm metformin deficient. And oh my gosh. He said, well, if you're not going to do what I'm telling you to do, then I'm not going to be your doctor. I'm like, oh, okay. Now I don't know what I'm going to do. And I left there. My depression was off the chart already. And then that didn't help. And I just got on TikTok. Well, I'd gotten off of TikTok because I got fear-mongered into getting off of it. Then I got back on there so I could watch my puppy dog videos and my comedians and stuff that I enjoy that made me laugh. And Greg Six came on my feed and starts talking about something that I have never heard about, insulin resistance. My doctor never asked me, do you have gut health issues? The only thing he told me is I need to eat less and move more if I want to lose weight. And I'm like, I've done 18 different weight loss programs. I've tried intermittent fasting. I've done everything and nothing works for me. And he goes, well, you know, you are in your 60s, so your health is naturally going to decline. And I said, no, I don't believe that, because anybody that knows me knows I'm fighting the aging process with every fiber of my being. So anyway, I decided, because they had the 90-day money back guarantee, that I'm going to try one more thing, one more time. And I did it. And in 4.5 months, I was pre-diabetic. My A1C was 6.6, I think, or 6.7. In 6.5 months total, 2.5 months later, I wasn't even pre-diabetic. My A1C was 5.4. And I got my life back because I'm a singer, I'm a songwriter, I'm an entertainer, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, and I wasn't doing any of those things very well. I wasn't even getting my fat butt off the couch to take care of things around the house and not doing a good job of being a good wife. And I'm happy in my own skin now. And I am grateful, eternally grateful, that I just happened to get on TikTok and I just happened to meet Greg, and he changed my life by taking the time to tell me something that would make me well. So I just want to tell anybody out there, if you're skeptical, thank you, Farhan. If you're skeptical, it's okay. You got a 90-day money back guarantee. It's got your back.
Yeah.
Go ahead and try it and do it the way it's designed. Don't get all caught up in how you feel about it. Just do it. Because you don't know what you don't know. And I didn't know anything. I didn't even know I had neuropathy in my hands and feet. I thought I had a pinched nerve in my back. And I only wear one contact lens now because I didn't know my vision was going to leave because of diabetes. And I just wear one in this eye. It's always been the weak eye. It's one I had surgery on when I was 3. Do this. Reach out to your mentor. Reach out to the person that brought you to this meeting. It's true. We are saving lives. And at first, I thought that was hokey. And it's not. And I'm just grateful. I want to tell you, thank you, Trent, Denise, everybody, for giving me this chance to tell my story. I love y'all so much.
Hey, we love you, Nori. Thank you so much. I have not coached anybody on this. I want that to be clear because I mean, this just is almost too good to be true. Thank you, Nori. That was that was perfect. So thank you so much.
Thank
We have a
you.
couple more stories. And again, this call is not like we normally do. I wanted this to be different. I wanted it to be special. I wanted, if I say the things that Nori just said, it sounds unbelievable. And you're about to hear another person with a pretty unbelievable story. So Jeff, your story's similar. You stumbled upon this in a pretty desperate state. Would you just tell us where you were at and what has happened since you started the protocol?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. So I was a 20-year type 2 diabetic. I was on 3 different meds, metformin, Januvia, Trulicity. I had an A1C of 9.4. I was 310 pounds with horrible foot neuropathy to the point I was getting injections between my toes. I had high blood pressure. I had stage 1 kidney failure, and I had I was just in a bad way. I mean, I was in bad shape, low testosterone even. In fact, at 41, my testosterone was 187. And like Nori, I saw Greg Six's video, and he said he reversed his neuropathy, and I was like, come on now, I've been told that's not possible. It's just something you're gonna have to manage and live with. And I talked to him, and he's like, yeah, man, this helps with all kind of stuff. So I gave it a shot, and it's the best thing I've ever done. I can say now I'm off all diabetes medication, and my A1C is 5.2. I've lost 72 pounds, no more blood pressure meds, no more foot neuropathy. Stage 1 kidney failure is gone. Reverse that. Testosterone level has probably tripled at this point. The last time I had it tested, it was 600 or 580 something. I just feel like a totally different person. It's completely changed my life. And like Nora, I feel like I got my life back.
Jeff, hey, thank you so much, brother. I really, really appreciate it. You know, Jeff, total stranger to me. We did not know each other. This is a guy that has a background. I mean, he works in the oil fields now. Has a background, if it's okay for me to say, in professional wrestling, which is so cool. I love it. And is a great man. Jeff, thanks for sharing your story. We have 350 people on the live Zoom, thousands more that will watch this. And I know that that story is exactly what somebody needed to hear, who is feeling scared and tired and uncertain about their future. Thank you, Jeff Lanham. Really appreciate it, brother. Okay, we got a couple more. Maybe I bit off more than I can chew tonight, but we've got a couple more, and we want to make sure we highlight them. Katie Hoffman, you look fantastic, and you've got a great story. Would you mind telling everybody where you were at prior to starting this protocol?
Yes. So, okay, I think recording's back in progress.
Yeah, okay.
Want to make sure I wasn't cutting that off. Okay, so basically, before I started the protocol, I'm 45. At the age of 23, I was diagnosed with PCOS and insulin resistance, and was just given 2 medications and kind of sent on my way. I didn't know what to do with those diagnoses. And fast forward about 16 years, and all of a sudden I was diagnosed with prediabetes. I was almost 100 pounds overweight. I was exhausted. I was still on those medications that weren't definitely not reversing any of my issues. I had high cholesterol. Like I said, I just had 0 energy. And so I was in a bad place, and my grandma was a type 2 diabetic. And so when I got that diagnosis, I was so scared because in my mind, like others have said, like that was just it. Like I was on that road and I was going to go down that road, and it was going to turn into insulin shots and having to eat my seeds candy in the bathroom while I did insulin, because that's what those are my memories of my grandma. And I had tried Ozempic. I had tried every single diet out there because I was just focused on my weight. If I could just lose weight. And that was not the way to go about it. So I was introduced to the Feel Great system by one of my best friends, and it really changed my life. So it'll be 2 years in February that I have been using the Feel Great system. And I have been able to reverse my prediabetes. So my A1C went from a 5.7 to a 5.1. I am no longer on metformin, which I took for 20 years. I'm no longer on Synthroid, which I took for my thyroid. My cholesterol numbers are all within optimal ranges. My triglycerides went down from over 200 to 53. And I have lost almost 100 pounds. So it's just to say it's giving me my life back. It does. It sounds so cheesy. They don't feel like sufficient enough words, but I'm the same. I'm a mom of 3. I work, I volunteer at church and school, and I have a wonderful husband. And I was exhausted. So now that I get to be like a part of my own life and not be tired when my kids get home from school because I'm finishing work, and to be able to just be an active participant in my own life and in my children's life and in my husband's life, it's given me everything.
Thank you so much, Katie. Every one of these stories has just made me really emotional. And, you know, people don't want to be on more drugs. They want to be off them. And people don't want to be sick. They want to be healthy. And, you know, my whole life, I feel like I've gone up and down and struggled, and this is like, unfortunately, the way everybody feels right now. Why is everyone getting sick? You know, what did they do to our food? What is happening? Why, you know, the problems that we have are just so prevalent, and it's really, really encouraging to hear some of these stories. And I want to say thanks, Katie. I got to be careful that I don't overtalk because we have some really awesome guests, and I want to get to a couple more of these stories. What Katie said, though, I mean, having been on metformin for 20 years, to get off of metformin is incredible. And Katie, we're super happy for you. Thank you, Katie. All right, Jim Grasser. Jim is somebody that when he stumbled upon this protocol had a very, very serious level of type 2 diabetes. I believe, Jim, I'll let you tell your story about which medications you're on. But you also mentioned your triglyceride HDL ratio was like off the charts bad. And you're looking like a completely different person today. So Jim, tell everybody kind of your experience on the protocol.
Well, I'm going to be really, really quick because I mean, I feel like I've got a good story, but compared to what I'm hearing, these stories are amazing. I had at my peak a 12.2% A1C. When we discovered I was type 2 diabetic, my mother-in-law came over with her little glucose meter, and I had a fasting glucose of like 475. It was absolutely through the roof. And I started max dose of metformin, 2,000 milligrams a day. And then I was on a max dose of Trulicity. That's the GLP-1 that I was on. And then I was on 40 milligrams a day of rosuvastatin, because that's what you do, right? When you have type 2 diabetes, you get on a statin because you're at increased risk of heart disease. And so I was on a max dose of all 3 of those. And then they just, I think for good measure, put me on a blood pressure lowering medication. I started this in the beginning of January in 2023. I truthfully, Trent, I wasn't looking for this. I had a friend of mine that was talking about it, and she said, you should try this. A lot of people are reversing type 2 diabetes, and she is quite literally one of the smartest people that I know. And I thought, you're smart. Don't say stupid things. You can't reverse type 2 diabetes. And honestly, at that time, Trulicity was on national back order. I didn't have a choice. I mean, I had a choice, but I couldn't get my medication. And so I did start it out of trust. And I think that's an important note for everybody listening right now was it's my friend. She's not going to harm me. And she's not going to try and take advantage of me. So I listened and I started. I started at January 4th. I believe it was January 4th. Sometimes I think it might have been January 3rd, but it was somewhere around there. What I do know is that February 16th, I got a call from my endocrinologist saying that I could quit taking my medications altogether because my glucose numbers were in the norm. And then on April 20th, we tested my A1C and it was 5.2. And In August, it was back down to 5.1. This is 2023. In October, I had it pulled again. So I've been unmedicated at that point for 20 months, and it was 4.8. It just keeps going down. And you mentioned my triglycerides to HDL. I didn't know anything about that. But when they initially pulled my numbers, it was a 561 triglycerides and a 22 HDL. And so the ratio was 25.5. And I know now that's supposed to be under like 1.8, 1.5. And so awful number. That one still needs a little bit of work, but I spent 25 years getting sick, 30 years, 40 years getting sick. It's at a 2.73 now. I got a little bit of work to do, but from 25.5, I'm pretty happy with where I'm at today, man. So I'm incredibly thankful. I'm incredibly thankful for Anne-Marie. She saved my life. And if you have, my message to everybody listening is if somebody's telling you about this, you should try it. They care about it.
Jim, 1 second. How many people have you told about this that have reversed their type 2 diabetes now after hearing your experience?
No fewer than 100.
No fewer than 100. So thank you, Jim. That was an awesome story. We have a couple more stories that I want everyone to hear, but I want to take a pause for a second and just talk about what is the protocol. Were these people counting calories? Were they doing extreme exercise? Were they eliminating sugar? Were they doing this? Were they doing that? What type of medications were they put on? Blah, 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 blah. Right. This protocol is the simplest thing in the world. It's 2 steps. Okay. Now, this does not mean that you can do this and, forget about what you eat and eat whatever you like. If you just do nothing else though, but apply these 2 steps, that's what I did. That's what many of the stories you've heard tonight have done. It is a game changer, and it's going to sound so simple that you almost won't believe it. Okay. I'm going to share it with you here, and then we'll get to a couple more stories as we wrap up the call. All right. This is real. There are more than a dozen clinical studies, more than 20 now, that will actually validate everything that I'm about to say to you. The Cleveland Clinic, the #1 heart hospital in the world, studied what I'm about to show you, and they said that this is going to, if used regularly, could reduce cardiovascular risk on a population basis all over the world, okay, and potentially decrease the need and or dose for prescription drugs, okay? This works fantastically. There's 2 steps. There is a concentrated extract of the yerba mate plant, okay? It is an extract of a plant, no drugs, no nothing. And when you sip it, whenever you're trying to avoid food, like if you're trying to get rid of snacking, or if you struggle with, just constant hunger, if you have a sweet tooth or any of those things, this makes me forget about food. And whenever I'm not eating, I will sip on this slowly, and it is incredible. This has something in it called chlorogenic acid, which is an insulin sensitizer. And that insulin sensitizer actually helps the cells become more insulin sensitive, which is the opposite of insulin resistance. So step 1, you sip this whenever you're trying to avoid food or snacks, right? Step 2, there is a blend of fiber that is going to change the world. And I'm not exaggerating. And if you need proof, just listen to the stories that we've been hearing, right? When you mix it with water, something happens. So you take this blend of fiber. These are fibers that most people are not familiar with, like guar gum, locust bean gum, acacia, pectin, beta-glucan. These fibers interact with each other synergistically. And so when you drink this right before a meal, it's about the consistency of orange juice when you first mix it. And so you drink this down. If I was about to have dinner, I would slam this down quickly. And I want to do it quickly because I don't want it to gel, okay? What happens is, over time, this will start to thicken and expand and create a gel, okay? And when the gel, and that gelling takes place in the stomach, right? When the gel is in your body, that gel will actually surround the food that you eat. So this Ritz cracker is actually symbolic of the modern diet, which is a bunch of fat and carbohydrates, right? This is fat and carbohydrates in one, And when you eat fats and carbohydrates, especially refined carbohydrates, it causes insulin to spike. When you have it with this blend of fiber, the fiber creates a gel around the carbohydrates and the fats, and this eliminates the blood sugar spike and the insulin spike that you would otherwise have. It also blocks some of the fat absorption. It is incredible. You simply have this whenever you're not eating and this before your largest meal each day. It is that simple. It costs about $5 a day, which is way cheaper than these injections and all these other things. It raises GLP-1 naturally. It is incredible. And everybody you're hearing from, that is what they did. 2 steps. One when you're not eating, one when it's time to eat. Now, there are a couple more people that I want to bring on before we wrap this up. And this is a man that I actually don't believe I have met before or spoken with. I've heard a lot about him, but I have not actually had a conversation. Michael Martin, how are you? Nice to meet you. I understand you're pretty new to the protocol and just got started a couple months ago. Would you mind telling everybody where you were at with your health prior to the protocol and how things are going?
Absolutely, Trent. About a year ago, it was January of 2024, I was on TikTok one particular day. I found a guy called the Healthy Pitmaster on TikTok, Jim Grasser. You just met him. And I listened to Jim for 6 months. And when his name got my attention, a pitmaster, I knew what a pitmaster was. And though he wasn't talking about food, he was talking about high blood pressure, which I had. Talking about high cholesterol, which I had. Talking about weight. I was 492 pounds. I was taking 25 pills per day just to sustain life on Earth. And I was a very unhealthy, sick individual. Fast forward to June, I've been listening to what I was talking about. I kind of bought into the system at month 4, but I'm on a fixed income. I just get a single check for the government. I didn't think I could really afford these products because I was already stretched to the max. But I went to my doctor in June, and my doctor came out and told me, he said, look, due to your obesity, due to you being on 25 pills a day, 8 of those pills were blood pressure medications. He goes, I don't think you're going to be around another 2 or 3 years if you don't get a grip on your health. Now, you can make the decision today. I mean, it's either I'll not see you in 2 or 3 years, or you can get a grip on your health. Well, it was a 45-minute drive home, and all I could think about was the Healthy Pitmaster. I came straight home. I ordered the protocol. I drank my first tea July 1st, 2024. So I've been on the Feel Great system for 6 months and 7 days. In 90 days, I was able to get my A1C from my 8.8 down to a 5.7. I went from 25 pills a day down to 4 now. I've been able to get off 21 of these pharmaceuticals right here that I was spending $300 a month for. I've reversed type 2 diabetes completely, and I've lost 103 pounds in 6 months. I was spending $8 a day on breakfast. I didn't really even realize that. By skipping breakfast, skipping one meal, I'm saving $240 a month. That allows me to buy this protocol and put about $60 in my pocket. I would have loved to have started earlier. I didn't think I could afford it, but I wasn't looking at the big picture. And so, like I said, I reversed type 2 diabetes, went from 25 pills a day down to 4. 1 is a blood pressure. I'm off of 7 of my blood pressure pills. I've lost 103 pounds. The chronic fatigue that I had every single day, I would sleep 10, 12 hours a day, sit on the edge of the bed and think, do I really have to suffer through another day like this? Because it was a horrible feeling when you try to do something and you just don't have the energy to do it. It's given me my life back. I'm glad I met Jim. Glad I met Jim. And, you know, what's easier for people that's listening right now? Do you think that it's easier to ask somebody that's reverse type 2 diabetes how they do it? Or say, I was on this Zoom call with all these people that's reversing diabetes. You know, how did they do it? This system is changing lives. There's over 98 million Americans right now is either pre-diabetic, type 2 diabetic. I represent the best products on the planet. 90-day money-back guarantee. We're offering you a solution. Take it. Thank you.
Michael, hey, that was awesome. And, you know, I think your story really resonated with a lot of people. When you consider the cost, you know, it's about $5 a day to do the protocol, somewhere between $5 and $6 a day, depending on what part of the world you live in. And that is not nothing. You know, I remember talking to some people and them saying, I don't have an extra $5 a day in my budget. And they don't realize that we're going to create that out of thin air. When you do a little bit of fasting and you skip a meal, and you also replace some snacks in many cases. You know, I used to be drinking diet sodas every day, and now I have Unimate instead. And you know, it just replaces the expense. And with the fasting that I'm doing, I'm saving money. I mean, in fact, I'm curious. There's 300 plus people on the live Zoom right now. If you have kept track of your expenses and can tell that on the protocol, you actually have more money in your wallet and bank account than you did off the protocol, maybe just put a me in the chat or a yes in the chat. If that's been your experience, I know for sure I save a fortune on this. And look at that. I mean, look at the me. Somebody just said, I couldn't read who, said saving over $500 a month. Now, I know there's lots of people that are on this call that probably wanted or have a story. Many of you I've never met, and I don't know what your story is. We've got one more story teed up for tonight that I want to bring on. But do me a favor. If you have a story that you'd like to leave in the chat, put a sentence or two in the chat of what it's done for you. I'd love to hear that. Okay. This is a couple that I have not met either. Again, there's no rehearsal or practice here, guys. If you're thinking that this is just a big commercial, I have not met Tom or Teresa. I understand that they were just in Utah not long ago. I wish I would have known you. I'd love to see you. But you guys have been on the protocol. You're also just a few months on it, as I understand. And the story's incredible. So if you wouldn't mind, tell us what's happened to you and maybe where you were at before and what's happened to you since starting the protocol.
Yeah, hi. I'm Tom or Tom and Teresa, but yeah, our story started back many years ago. I was 25 when I had my first heart attack, and I laid in a bed for 3 days, just basically wishing to die. With my wife, like I said, at this age, we were a very young family. We had 3 children and another one on the way. And she's sitting there worrying about whether she's going to have a husband or not. So luckily, I was able to make it through that. But ever since then, I battled with heart issues, anxiety issues, overweight issues. And I've been a big guy my whole life. And before I found this protocol, I was up to over 360 pounds. And so as my life went on, I was in and out of the hospital multiple times. I couldn't even guess how many stents I have in my heart. And then probably about 6 years ago, I was in the hospital 5 times with heart attacks to get stents in 1 year. And then one time I was in there and I coded and they had to throw me back on the table real quick and ended up shocking me 14 times to get me back. So that was another pretty rough experience my wife had to go through. And so my wife's lived many years now worrying whether I was going to make it from month to month, basically. And my the last guy said there, the medications, just unbelievable. I was on over $18,000 a month in medications, was being billed by insurance company. And so since I've been on the protocol, I've been able to completely get off of all of them medications, get off of my CPAP machine, get rid of neuropathy in my feet, all my inflammation in all my body. I've lost right at about 100, a little bit over 100 pounds now. And like I said, we've been on it since July 17th. So in 6 months, we've, it's been very good for us. And for my wife, like I said, it got to a point in our life, we're 56 years old, and it got to the point in our life that, so I'm looking at retirement here soon, and I come home here this spring and I said, we have to do something here. This is not how I want our life. We come to the point where we just sit on the couch. We couldn't do nothing. I couldn't enjoy my life. If I was lucky to make it 5 minutes walking around the grocery store with my wife, that's about all I could do. I had to go sit in the car and wait for her to finish the grocery shopping. And it was just really just ruining our lives. And so we enjoy having fun. We've always been very active people, and just our life has become to feeling like we were 80 years old. We couldn't do nothing. And so since, like I said, since this protocol, we've both been on it since then. My wife's, she can tell you a little bit on hers, and then we'll finish it up.
Hey, Teresa.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Just hi, Teresa. Go ahead.
Hi. Like Tom said, most of our time, like, we have just struggled. We're very active, very involved in the kids. Like, we do a lot of stuff, and the older we got, the more we just thought it was normal. We're getting old, we were slowing down. And so we got on this protocol, and in a few short months, it's changed our lives. Like, we're healthier. We're like, losing weight is like great. It's a great thing, but we're like ready to take on the world. This is a whole new ball game for us, and we are enjoying life. We're doing things that we could have not done 3 months ago.
Yeah, like Trent said, we've done so well on this. It's straightened out my wife's hormones from, and so we're doing much better. So we decided to treat ourselves to New Year's Eve in Las Vegas, and we went out there and we walked, I'll guarantee you, a minimum of 10 miles a day. One day we went hiking, like he said, over by Utah and everything, and we went hiking in the mountains, climbing mountains, and this is something that we haven't done since we were in our 20s, and now we're able to do this and enjoy life and getting and just excited and happy to retire, because this has given our life back. We're acting like we're 25 years old again instead of 80. It's like the fountain of youth for us.
It's amazing.
You guys, thank you so much. I cannot wait to meet you guys some point in the future, somehow, somewhere.
Hopefully very
your
soon.
story, yeah, your story is just incredible. And what I love about your story, and so many of the stories tonight, thanks everybody. This was a special call, and it was probably the most enjoyable call I've ever had doing this. Your story was special to me just because of the life-limiting situation that you were in, and the life-giving situation that you've put yourself into now. And we're just happy for you guys. Thanks so much. We're going to do one more.
Thanks,
I
Brett.
realize we're 6 minutes over time, and I never, ever go over time. If this is the first time you've ever been on a call with me, you are learning this for the first time. But it's true. And you've probably been a little bit annoyed at how I've been kind of rushing people throughout this call. Like, chill out, man. These are amazing stories that are emotional. Why are you rushing people? But I have this, OCD thing about time. So I want to bring on our next guest, who you can see now. Before I unmute them, I have got to read some of these, because I said, hey, if you have a story, if you've been using this protocol and you have a story, put a note or two in the chat. And I think there's about 150 messages here. mean, I can't tell exactly, but I'm just going to read a couple. Crystal Swan Griffin. Crystal's a nurse in Indiana who, again, just total stranger who found out about this from a TikTok video explaining it. Crystal said Hashimoto's is now in remission. Thyroid antibodies from 3,600 down to 9 for the first time in 20 years. Her triglycerides are down. Her HDL, the good cholesterol, is up. She has lost 58 pounds and is off 14 pills. Her husband's down 50 pounds and husband has reversed fatty liver. A lot of people saying they've saved a ton of money on the protocol. Let me scroll a little bit. Deb Saunders, my headaches, fatigue, and low testosterone allergies have all gone down. I've lost 75 pounds, feeling amazing. Love this system. Renee Peterson, I'm down 77 pounds, 55 inches, off blood pressure medication, vertigo, inflammation's gone, sleeping better. Harpreet Bening, down 60 pounds, reversed prediabetes. My skin is better. Marlene Reyes, I have never heard this story. Marlene, this is crazy. I lost 260 pounds and I'm off my cholesterol meds. Shannon Davis, triglycerides down, HDL up. Amazing. Jimmy, reverse non-alcoholic fatty liver and type 2 diabetes. Guys, there's like 100 other messages. This is insane. I mean, we're going to round it off or end the call. And after this next story, if you want to try the protocol, you can actually order it with a discount code. There's a discount code that will give you the manufacturer's lowest price. It is 90-day, no questions asked, money back guarantee. If you use it properly and are consistent, it will work for you. And you can prove that with a blood test that you do with your doctor. So if you have blood work from before, you can do the blood work after, and it will be measurably, obviously, dramatically, amazingly better, or you could just get a refund. But just use it properly, be consistent, and it won't let you down. If it takes a second to get used to it, get through that period. Get used to it, right? Get used to it. The first thing you'll notice is the way you feel. You'll feel better. And then after about a couple of weeks, you'll start to see measurable progress. So the reason why we do these calls, and I plan to do at least 2 of these calls every month in 2025, maybe more. The reason why we do these is because we want to change the world. We have something that is different than anything I've ever seen before, and it works. And tonight you've had lots of proof on that. So we'll finish the call with one more piece of resounding proof. This is John and Carrie Cox. John, I know I've heard a little bit about your story, but I'm excited to hear what the protocol has done for you, where you started, and where things are at today.
All right, thanks. I'll be quick. Well, I was pretty sick. In my early 30s, I got diagnosed as type 2 diabetic. I didn't think that I was. I worked 80 hours a week. I just thought I was always going to be tired. I wasn't feeling right, went into the hospital, actually because Carrie made me go to the hospital. And they asked me, Mr. Cox, how long have you been diabetic? And I said, I'm not. And they said, well, with a blood sugar of 598 and an A1C, I don't think it would register, but they said it was a 16. They said, how did you walk in here? I spent a week at the hospital. They put me on 4 insulin shots per day. I asked, is there anything I can do not to take these? And they said, nope, you're going to be on them forever, which was the biggest lie they could have told me. Spent a week in the hospital and thinking, how did I let myself get like this? My dad died at 61 and I was going down that path. And long story short, with the insulin, I gained 80 pounds over 10 years. I had a fatty liver. I was on 2 blood pressure meds, 1 cholesterol med. Eventually developed diabetic retinopathy. I was faced with getting shots right before I started this protocol. But for about 3 years, I battled neuropathy terrible. I mean, it dictated my every thought. And then Becky called me. I wouldn't look at it for 4 months, and she called me a second time. My insulin, I was taking 320 units a day. My monthly insulin cost was $1,300 a month until my deductible was made, not including the rest of the pills. And in the course of that time, I took over 20,000 insulin shots in my life. Becky calls, I finally look at it. Trent and Greg Six and Becky actually show me. And I thought, I have nothing to lose. I was on a path of an early death. I don't know if I'd be on this call today. And in 4 months, and I didn't lose any weight for the first month. I didn't realize it because my insulin was so high, I wasn't going to lose weight. But then I lost 35 pounds. And in 4 months, I got off 4 insulin shots per day, 2 cholesterol meds, 2 blood pressure meds, 1 cholesterol. I got off all my neuropathy meds. And when right before we went to Bangkok, I went and had my eyes checked. And the doctor was so weirded out about it because she was looking at 18 months ago and she was scanning my eyes. She's like, "What are you doing?" She goes, "Your prescription in both eyes improved. You were faced with going blind. And I've never seen you been diabetic for a day, let alone 20 years. So now I'm down 57 pounds.
Oh man. Thank you, John and Carrie. And guys, this is what it's all about. There's a lot of suffering out there, and we can reduce human suffering globally. This is something that is going to change the world, and nobody knows about it yet. So we're grateful that you know about it. And if you have somebody you love or care about that is suffering, show them the recording of this video and invite them to one of these calls and have them try the protocol. They have nothing to lose. It is guaranteed to work for them, or they can just get a refund. But if they use it properly and are consistent, it will work for them. And we had a lot of proof of that tonight. Thanks for being on this calls. We're way over time, and I'm panicked about it. We respect your time. We usually start on time, finish on time, but we could not. You guys saw me on my phone. I probably looked distracted. I was teeing up the next person. Hey, would you be willing to come on? Would you tell your story? And it was a lot of fun. So this call meant the world to me. And thank you everybody for sharing your story. I love you all, and we'll see you the next time we do one of these. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.